And we can tell you Southport's killer, Axel Rudakubana, has pleaded guilty to murdering 3 young girls during a knife attack in Southport back in July.
And we can also tell you that his mugshot has just been released. So there you go, there's his mugshot. Interesting, there was quite a lot of criticism about how the police have been using quite flattering pictures of him as a young boy.
A lot younger pictures.
Yeah, as a young boy. But this is the mugshot that's just been released by the police.
I mean, it takes a moment to digest, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, my goodness me. Why is his mouth open? Why are his eyes up like that? I wonder if we can get the picture back. I think we all need to have a little look at it. I mean, it's a pretty shocking picture. The face of someone who has just admitted guilty, that has just admitted his guilt to the murder of 3 young girls, the attempted murder of many more, possession of ricin, possession of an Al-Qaeda terrorist manual as well. I mean, that's pure evil behind those eyes.
Yeah. If you could, describe a mugshot of a killer, it might look something like that. Now, the 18-year-old did change his plea from not guilty to guilty on what was due to be his first day, the first day of his trial at Liverpool Crown Court.
He'll be sentenced this coming Thursday, starting at 11 a.m. Well, a short while ago, we heard from the Crown Prosecution Service.
Axel Rudakubana has today pleaded guilty to the murder of Elsie Dot Stancombe, B.B. King and Alice de Silva Aguirre, as well as the attempted murder of 10 others, including Leanne Lucas and John Hayes. This was an unspeakable attack, one which has left an enduring mark on our community and the nation for its savagery and senselessness. At the start of the school holidays, a day which should have been one of carefree innocence, of children enjoying a dance workshop and making friendship bracelets, became a scene of the darkest horror as Axel Rudakubana carried out his meticulously planned rampage. It is clear that this was a young man with a sickening and sustained interest in death and violence. He has shown no signs of remorse. The prosecution was determined to prove his guilt, and I am deeply grateful that today's plea has spared the families at the heart of the case the pain of having to relive their ordeal through a trial. Today, our thoughts are with all those whose lives were altered by what happened on that day. Most of all, we think of Elsie, of BB and of Alice, the 3 beautiful young girls whose lives were cut short, and wish strength and courage to their families who loved and cherished them.
Mark, please do bring us the latest.
Well, some more very disturbing news that GB News can now confirm with regard to Axel Rudakubana. We can confirm that he was referred to the Prevent Counter-Extremism programme on 3 separate occasions in the years before this attack, but was apparently deemed unsuitable for that counter-extremism programme because he was not linked, it seems, to any terrorist ideology. He was referred initially in 2019 when he was just 13 years of age. And that referral came about because of concerns that he showed interest in carrying out a school massacre. There was another referral, 2 referrals in fact, that took place in 2021. And then, of course, he went on to carry out the attack last year in 2024. On those 3 occasions, he was assessed according to the information that we've received with regard to how Prevent treated this referral. They expressed concern about the potential violent tendencies of this individual, but because this is a counter-extremism programme that is linked to terrorist ideology, it was thought not suitable for him to be further intervened by this particular programme. But we're told one of the referrals to this programme did result in Prevent referring it on to other agencies. The detail of that we don't have at this stage. Indeed, what, if any, action was taken by this other agency or agencies when information was passed on to them by Prevent, we don't know as yet. But this is another clearly very concerning element to this story, because it points to the fact that these events, these terrible attacks that take place, whether it is terrorist motivation or some other motivation, rarely happen in isolation. People are often on a journey, becoming increasingly violent in their outlook, extreme in their particular outlook, and it's clear that this young man, even as young as 13 years of age at school, was showing these violent tendencies, expressing an interest in school massacres, an interest that was such to the point that those in that school environment decided that he should be referred to this counter-extremism programme. So now the question will turn absolutely understandably to what on earth was done, if anything, to try to get a handle on this, to try to divert this young man away from this kind of violent mindset that was enacted in such a horrific way on the 31st of July last year.
What a clear institutional failing. Not once, not twice, but 3 times this man was referred to the Prevent programme, starting at least 5 years ago, planning a school massacre, or at least thinking about carrying out a school massacre. I mean, clearly this guy should have been at the top of the list for people to be looking at, keeping tabs on, and perhaps even restraining in some sort of way, not allowing to integrate and mix with polite, civilised society. I mean, this man, as we heard earlier from the CPS, had a sickening and sustained interest in death and violence, which we now know was reported to the authorities on 3 occasions.
I think what it highlights is the inherent weakness of the Prevent Counter-Extremism programme that was set up with good intent because of the very significant increase in terrorist activity, mainly from jihadi-related terrorism. That is about 70% of the terrorist activity that the authorities are dealing with, but also right-wing extremism as well. That is what Prevent focuses on. And I think this case highlights absolutely the need either for Prevent to expand, to look at those with a violent mindset that would be motivated perhaps to carry out the kind of horrible, multi-layered mass attacks that are commonplace amongst terrorists, that they should somehow Prevent also look at that kind of motivation, or if not Prevent, then another body that Prevent can refer to that can more effectively look at these individuals that I was told at a counter-terrorism briefing late last year were becoming increasingly of concern to authorities. The number of people, particularly during lockdown, who were in their bedrooms, who were accessing very violent, horrific material, who showed an interest in that, who had themselves violent tendencies, who were not necessarily linked to a terrorist organisation as such, but absolutely had a motivation and a mindset that was to go out and cause people harm in a very significant way. It's a subset of these violent offenders that now I think needs to be looked at much more carefully with a view to handling them within the community, investigating them, intervening early to try to divert them away from a path that could lead to the events that we saw in July of last year.
Yeah, I mean, Mark, perhaps Prevent wasn't the appropriate agency for Axel Rudakubana, but I can't quite get my head around how being referred to such an agency 3 times in your youth for no other agency to be involved, to not be pushed to something else. You know, someone else might be flagged with someone else. I mean, maybe this stuff did happen. Maybe he was known to multiple different agencies, different authorities. I don't know, but we'll find that out, I suppose.
And certainly the idea that someone who was at least on the radar of authorities could purchase ricin.
Well, yes.
Could be able to get to all of that sort of... where do you even start with that sort of thing? Clearly, he was doing things under the nose of the government there.